Hello everyone, I'm Michela Di Carlo. I'm the founder and chief editor of CrunchyTales.com, and welcome to our webinar. Today I'm so excited to introduce to you Vanessa Rhodes. Vanessa Rhodes is our CrunchyExpert, leadership mentor, and a very experienced HR professional. Welcome, Vanessa.
Hi, Michela. Lovely to be with you tonight.
I'm sure that all of our readers will be there to grab some tips, or at least to see if they can write a wonderful CV and then impress the next boss. Who knows? It's never too late. So Vanessa, I will give you, the space, the scene. I'm sure you will delight us as always. See you later, and good luck. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm delighted to be with you this evening to talk to you about how to nail your next job in your 50s. I want to help you tonight to stand out from the crowd and make sure that you make that impact both with your CV and also with your interview skills and your interview presence when you go for the actual interview as well. So I've got two aims really for this evening. One is to really help you to focus in on how to prepare for your next job, and then also how to present at the interview. I'm going to take any questions and comments at the end of the session tonight. So we'll just carry on with the slides through the evening, and then I will take any comments and questions at the end. I'm going to be with you for a few minutes this evening, and then we will presenting the slides, and then we will take any comments, like I say. So over to this first slide, which talks about how to enhance your CV. I have many years of recruitment experience. I've interviewed a lot of people over the years. And really what I wanted to talk to you about first was how to get your CV in front of the recruiter, how to get your CV noticed. And I think the key thing here really is to keep it short, keep it simple, make sure that it sums up everything that you've done, every bit of experience that you've had. But obviously what I find, and what managers that I work with and leaders that I work with recruiting find, is that if the CV is too long, it can be difficult to navigate, be difficult to read through. So we like a nice, brief, short CV that sums up your experience, very professionally presented, and we like to see that sort of really clear font and the description set out with space in between so that we can read exactly what you're trying to tell us on the CV. I have written an article already for CrunchyTales.com, and you can find that on my page on CrunchyTales.com, which talks in great detail about the CV. So I'll direct you to that, really, to think in more detail about your actual curriculum vitae. But what I would say is, when you are applying for a job, think about your cover letter as well. I'm particularly keen to see a cover letter that is really tailored towards the job and towards the organisation that you're applying to. And I think it's really key to make sure that you link your CV and your cover letter together, and they should be, as I say, tailored towards the job that you're applying for, and drawing the reader's attention to the skills and experience that you've got that match the person's specification for the actual job. So often we find that candidates will just have a run-of-the-mill routine cover letter and CV, and that can be a turn-off for a recruiter, because they think, well, okay, are they actually applying for this job here, or are they just doing a round-robin CV and cover letter? And I think sort of my experience is that recruiters really want to see you applying your skills and experience for the job that they've got in hand, and that makes it much more bespoke for them. So tailor your applications. But also, I think as well, just on this last point here, connect widely and make sure your social media connections are alive and well, and your profile is up to date, and enlist the help of supporters and friends to get you known about any jobs that might be coming up recruitment that is happening, and tell your friends and your contacts what you're looking for, and make sure they can help and support you. And this also really helps with the process of staying, if you like, staying resilient through the process. Have people help you to G you along the way to make sure that you get as much support as you can, because really looking for a new job or looking for your next role, it can take a lot of time. And I think really you need to make sure that you've got that sort of application ready and waiting, also to make sure that your friends are willing to help you along the way. What I would also say is make sure that you proofread anything that you're going to send on to a recruiter, to a jobs page, or to an employer, because if you don't proofread, often there'll be a few mistakes along the way, and they can stand out to the reader of the CV. So ask a friend to have a look at your CV beforehand and make sure there's no sort of spelling or proofreading issues with that. So that's really all I wanted to say about your CV at this stage and your application process. If we see the next slide now, Michaela, if that's okay. Moving on to the next slide, which talks about how to really nail this new role that you want to think about, this new job that you want to have in mind. I think really what I would say here is just make a bit of time to really think about your skills and experience. I think I call it the intersection, because I think this is finding what you do best. It's really thinking about the intersection between your experience to date, what you're passionate about in terms of what really makes you tick, what really gets you going and gets you out of bed in the morning, if you like, and also where your talents lie, where your natural skills and talents lie. And when you think about the intersection between those three things, it can really help you to focus in on what might suit you and what would be the next role that would really be right up your street. What I do to help people with this is I ask them to sort of jot down their experiences, and I sort of probe a bit further and think about the supplementary aspect of that, and think about, well, what have you learned from that experience? Because we've had experiences, but what have we actually learned and gained from those experiences? And really doing that really helps you to think about how you'll be able to address that when the time comes and you're in the interview and somebody's saying, okay, what did you learn and what impact did you have when you did that role or when you had that experience? Because we've all got lots and lots of life experience. So yeah, if we look at the intersection, it's really critical. I think we've lost the slide along the way. Oh, it's coming back. And then we think about what we're passionate about and what talents we have. Make a list, jot them all down. This will help you to really focus your thoughts in terms of any additional skills or training you might need at this stage to help you to get that next job. And so really, when you spend a bit of time doing this, I think it's really time well spent, time well served for you, because I think it'll really help you when you're putting your CV together, but also when you're thinking about the interview skills you'll need. And that leads us nicely into the next stage, which is really thinking about the interview itself. So if we can move to the next slide, that would be great. Okay, so now we've managed to be shortlisted for the role and we've been contacted, and it's time to think about making an impact at the interview. Now, currently, because of the situation we're all in with the coronavirus, it might be that your interview might be being held on a platform like Teams or Zoom or one of the online platforms. So the recruiter might contact you and say it's going to be a remote interview, or it might be that you meet somebody face to face in a room, obviously with all the precautions taken in terms of social distancing and everything. But either way, you're going to have to make an impact at the interview. And for me, this is the critical stage, because you're in front of the recruiter, you're in front of the manager, you're in front of somebody who could potentially be your next boss. And other people might be there as well. So it might be a panel situation for you. And so you've really got to think about how you make an impact at this stage. I'm going to let you into a secret now. I'm going to tell you a secret that you might not be aware of. And that is that a lot of the people who are involved in interviewing you at this stage might not have had the amount of training that you potentially think they have, and they might not have been interviewing for very long, or they might not have ever had an conducted an interview before. It's a fact that they may not be that well versed in how to interview. And so that secret from me is really to help you to think that they might be feeling a bit nervous too. So don't let that, don't let that whole situation make you feel like you're the one perhaps who is feeling a little bit unsure and nervous, because they could be feeling that way too. And so I'm just letting you know that, because I think that sometimes helps people to think, it's quite a tricky situation for both people, for all people concerned. So you've entered into the interview situation, and to overcome those sort of feelings of uncertainty and a little bit of, maybe a little bit of nerves, obviously sort of think about how you can calm yourself down, maybe have some think about some breathing techniques before you go into the room, maybe thinking about how you collect your thoughts, give yourself a bit of time, make sure you're not rushing to the interview, and plan your journey well in advance to make sure you can be there on time, and chance to have a relax a few minutes before you go into the room with the interviewers. And I think as well, when you're in that situation, think about bringing yourself into the room. Think about how you come across as an individual, how your personality and your personal skills will be sort of put to the fore, if you like, in that situation. So I want you to think about bringing yourself into the room and really sort of engaging quickly, making eye contact, building rapport with the person who's conducting the interview. And this is really good, because this helps the interviewer and for you to start to feel that level of safety and security in the room, in terms of feeling confident and relaxed. So think about bringing yourself into the room and then showing your personality, making sure that you have the opportunity to shine. Think about how you will come across, what sort of things you'll say to engage with the interviewer at the first instance, because whilst when I'm doing training for interviewers, I often say, what will be your opening line to the candidate? I think it's really important that the candidate as well thinks about what their opening line will be as well, and how they'll set the scene as well for themselves. Because you're presenting yourself to the interviewer at this stage, you're really thinking about how you're coming across. And, you're in the moment, so you need to think very clearly about everything that you're saying and everything that you're doing in terms of how you're presenting yourself at that stage, because they will be thinking about that from the minute they meet you. And I think the most important thing here, the last P on my list, really, if you like, is to be prepared. So the biggest courtesy you can offer, the biggest thing that you can do in advance is really prepare, know about the organization that you're going to be interviewed by, do your homework, think about what you want to say in terms of your knowledge about the place of work and the job that they have in mind for you and you have in mind as well. So those 4 Ps for me, really, when you're thinking about making an impact at the interview, are very critical. I'm going to come on to the next slide where I really talk about something to do with the way that we answer the question. So if Michaela, if you can pop me onto the next slide, that would be great. So this is really my last few tips and techniques for you in terms of nailing that job, making sure that you come across really well at the interview, and that you hopefully are the best candidate that they've seen all day and they really can't forget you. So I guess really importantly, one of the key tips I give to people really is when you're thinking about being yourself and thinking about your personality and how you want to present, you want to think very carefully about the sort of outfit that you will wear for the interview and how you will come across for the panel on the day. Wear something that you're comfortable with and that you feel really assured in, and plan it in advance. And this is the same for remote interviews, online interviews, as it is for being in the room with the interview panel. I think it's really critical that you professionally dress. I have been doing a lot of recruitment for many, many years, and I've seen a lot of different outfits come through the door, but I always look for something that represents the sort of job that we're looking to fill that day. I want to see somebody who's professionally dressed has thought about, how they come across in that regard. And so for you need to feel smart, and you need to look smart as well on the day. I think the most important thing I would say is really think about how you're coming across in terms of your smile, smiling to individuals, smiling to the people that you're meeting on the reception area, engaging with people very quickly in terms of that smile and that eye contact. That really helps to build the trust and to make them feel sort of confident in you and you confident in them. So practice that smile. Might seem a bit cheesy to you right now, but in the mirror in the morning before you go, get that smile working. Think about your eye contact and make sure that you're looking them straight in the eye and sort of, starting to build that rapport with people very quickly. I would say either remotely or in the room, I would try your absolute best to be as alert as you can. I know it's a nerve-wracking experience, but keep your wits about you. Be thinking in the moment what you're going to be doing, what you're going to be saying. Listen well to the interviewer, what they're telling you, and sit up straight, show that you're paying attention. And these might seem really, really quick and easy tips to take on board, but trust me, from all the interviews I've ever done and all the times I've spent in interview situations, this is absolutely critical, that people are showing that they're interested and that they're confident and really projecting that. In terms of answering the questions, I'm going to give you a couple of things that I think are important to bear in mind just now. You will be asked, and it's inevitable that you'll be asked to explain a bit about yourself, tell the interviewer about yourself, and the old chestnut of, tell me a bit more about yourself. If you can script that in advance and really hone that so that you can get the point across and you're not potentially, going to tell them too much or too little. So really work on that. Practice it with a friend before you go to the interview, somebody you trust who'll tell you honestly. So you will get asked to tell the interviewer about yourself. So really work on that script before you go for the interview. And you'll also probably get asked, because we're thinking about ourselves in this sort of stage in our life when we've had lots of different life experiences, we've had lots of things happen to us. There might be some gaps along the way where you haven't been working, or you've been working at different types of roles, or you've had time out. But you need to be able to explain those and have a real sort of a document, if you like, in your head as to how you explain the sort of things you've done and how your time has been taken up, and make those experiences come to life for the recruiter. So my advice there really is to script, think about the sort of questions that you might be asked for that job. Work on the person's specification and the job description for the job, the details that you've had sent to you. Do your homework, like I've said. Think about the activities that you've done in your life, but also think very clearly about the impact that you've had in those jobs that you've done, what transferable skills you've got, and also think about the consequences, if you like, and the successes that you've had. And it's really good to write that all down and to script it all in your head so that you're not caught out on the day and you're sort of trying to find answers to those questions. They will probe. They will ask you to tell them a little bit more. They will come back at you and ask you to tell them more details. So be prepared to really think about the sort of experiences you've had and how you're going to answer those questions. And I'd also say really ask them questions as well. I think if you've got a clear view of the sort of questions that you want to ask, then you can come to them at the end of the interview and ask them some questions as well. And then obviously you're going to find, hopefully, your right fit for the job that you really want to nail at this stage. So hopefully that's really helped. I can see Michaela. Thank you very much.
Actually, I have a question, two questions for you probably. Yes. As you know, these particular circumstances made it very difficult to find a job. So the competition is fierce out there. So how can we 50 plus combat the overqualified stereotype? sometimes, it's easy to dismiss us because we are too overqualified for that particular job role. What would you suggest?
Well, I sort of think that's in the mind of potentially of the recruiter. It shouldn't be in our minds. We are qualified. We've got lots and lots of life experience. We've got things that we've done. If you feel that might be something that they're concerned about, I think you should really focus in on how you would transfer the skills that you've got to the role that you're looking at, where that life experience has set you in good stead for the job, the things that you maybe want to tell them honestly about why you might be thinking about that role. I would be honest, because if it's not going to be the right job for you, then, there's no point in sort of taking that leap. But I think it is more in their heads, and you have to just forget that and just say, I'm ready for this job. This is the job I really want. And focus on that and be very enthusiastic and passionate about that job.
Yes. And as you probably already know, there are a lot of invitations for a video interview because of the coronavirus. In this case, it's becoming even more challenging. Any extra tips?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a platform that we're getting used to. It's a work platform that people are getting familiar with. The recruiter themselves will be finding that more tricky as well. So I think you're both in the same boat, really. I think sort of keep your answers succinct the way that you would normally do, but make sure you're keeping eye contact through the medium of the online as well. Obviously put your camera on and make sure you're connected. Wear something equally as smart as you would wear for the interview. And I think as well, one of the tips I would give that I perhaps haven't mentioned so far, especially with the remote interview, is if you check back with the interviewer and say, has that answered the question? Because sometimes you can get the discord for the internet breaking down or whatever. So make sure that you keep connected with them and say, just conscious I've given you an answer there. Has that answered the question for you? And see if they want to ask you anything else, because you can't always see the cues when you're on a remote interview the same as you can in the room. Yeah.
And so if there are any questions, you are very welcome. Don't be shy. However, this webinar will be recorded, has been already recorded, so you can still enjoy it in the next few weeks. Vanessa, thank you so much for spending your time with us and for sharing your expertise with us. I'm sure that everyone out there is in need of those extra advice, and I really look forward to welcome you again. And stay safe, stay crunchy, and age playfully.
Yeah, thank you, so much, pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.